It's been a couple weeks since we did a Motovlog on the Tuono. How about we do one of those today? I got an errand to run, and I'll bring you guys with me. Would anyone like to hear a cold start on a 2017 Aprilia Tuono V4 1100 factory with an SC Project CRT exhaust? Yes? Excellent. It's basically a MotoGP bike with a handlebar. Hi, I'm Chad, and welcome to Tuono Land. Today, we are on the way to my local Triumph dealership, OC Motorcycle, to pick up some oil filters for the Daytona 675R, which needs its oil changed before my first race weekend. Aiming to take care of that before I go on vacation, hence the errand today. So in today's video, I'm going to talk about upgrading bikes. Lately, I've noticed a trend in the comment section of many of my Tuono videos. It seems there's a lot of you out there that are interested in upgrading from your middleweight sport bike or super sport bike, such as a Triumph Street Triple or a Yamaha FZ09, to a Tuono V4. I'm going to talk a little bit about my experience in making that jump, being that even though this is my second Tuono V4, not quite a year ago, I bought my first Tuono V4, my Tuono V4 RR, and that was the first leader bike I'd ever owned in my life. So I guess really, what's it like to upgrade from a middleweight to a leader bike? When are you ready to do that? And what should you be aware of when making the leap? So to give you guys a little bit of background, this Tuono V4 factory is the fifth motorcycle that I've owned. My first motorcycle I purchased in December of 2013 was a 2003 Honda CBR 600RR. I had that bike for a little bit short of 2 years before upgrading to a 2006 Triumph Daytona 675, which I had for 4 years, although the last 6 months of my ownership the bike didn't have an engine in the frame, so I didn't really ride it. But anyways, after I dealt with that mess, I purchased a 2012 Triumph Daytona 675R Brandy, which I still have and is now my track bike race bike we are going to get oil filters for. And Brandy was on double duty for a little bit over a year, and by double duty I mean she was basically a street bike most of the time, with street fairings and lights and looked all pretty and sport bikey. And then I had the set of track fairings that she now wears full time. And I would remove her street fairings and put on the track fairings every time I went to the racetrack. Eventually I decided she needed to be full-time track bike and I needed a street bike. And I was looking for something that was just a little bit ridiculous and fun and exciting all at the same time, and a little bit more comfortable, which was how I arrived at my first Tuono V4, the 2017 Tuono V4 RR, which I will drop a picture of now. Isn't she gorgeous? And after having the Tuono RR for about 8-9 months, I decided it was the factory that I really wanted, so I purchased my Tuono factory. Purchasing the Tuono RR back in June of 2020 means I have about 11 months of experience riding leader bikes. And I'll admit, when I was first going from the Daytona 675R, I was a bit nervous. I did have a lot of experience under my belt, had about 6.5 years of riding experience at the time, now up at 7.5. I've got about 38,000 miles in the saddle overall, over 2,000 of which are on racetracks and probably another 3,000 to 4,000 miles in the canyons. So pretty decent amount of riding experience in 7.5 years, I would say. It wasn't really until I was spending enough time on my Daytona 675R at the racetrack that I thought it would really make sense to buy a second bike and just have that be a completely track-focused machine. But once I did make that decision, I started thinking about the kind of bike that I wanted, and I felt like I had enough experience under my belt. At that time I was a bit over 30,000 miles, pretty close to 2,000 miles on track, right around there, just a bit under, I think. I mean, I've been riding middleweight super sport bikes for 6.5 years, so I decided it was time to take the plunge, and naturally You guys know me, I love Aprilia. I love that V4. Ooh, sounds so good. I love the styling of the Tuono V4 and the RS V4, so naturally, perfect fit was the Tuono V4. This isn't going to be like an end-all be-all. There is no golden rule that certifies you as being ready for a leader bike. It's just one of those things that you have to decide on for yourself. Now I'm going to just dive into some of my criteria and some of the ways that I felt that I was ready. And again, I was still nervous, especially before I started test riding bikes. You know, 175 plus horsepower is a lot, especially when you've never had more than 125. It's quite a leap. But one of the ways that I knew that I was ready was the Daytona's power felt very comfortable to me. I was at a point with that bike, and keep in mind, I spent a lot of time riding both my 06 Daytona 675 and my 675R on track before I finally threw a leg over the Tuono. And I spent a decent amount of time on my CBR 600RR at the track as well. So I was very comfortable with the amount of power that those bikes make. It was very predictable. I was comfortable managing it. It didn't intimidate me at all. And neither did other aspects of the machine as well, like the brakes or the way the bike steered. I just felt very comfortable on those bikes overall, whether I was out at the track riding quickly, or if I was riding around on the street, or even if I went to the canyon and was riding with a bit of a spirited pace. So the second way I determined I was ready was that I could correct my mistakes. I know it might sound a little bit weird and oversimplified, but say you're running into a corner and you're not really sure if you're gonna make that corner. You're coming into it a little bit too fast, you're on the brakes, you're not sure if you're about to wash the front out and go for a slide, or if you should start leaning and just pray that you make it around. So you get to a point where you can come into a corner and be like, oh, I'm going too fast, but I can use the brakes that little bit extra. It's just being cognizant of the kind of pace that you're riding at and being able to make small corrections as necessary. And I think the most important thing too is being able to ride where you feel like you're in control of the bike. And I felt very much that way all the time on the Daytonas. And it wasn't like, oh, I just reached that level where I feel comfortable on my Daytona. It was time for me to get a Tuono. I was at that same level for a few years. I just kept kind of working the bike and getting more comfortable on it little by little. But I was extremely comfortable on both those bikes for a long time before I finally even thought about getting a leader bike. But the final way that I think I knew I was ready for a leader bike was just my level of maturity. I mean, you guys know I do my virtual computer simulations of rapid accelerations and mayhem and things of that nature. But in reality, I'm very comfortable on this bike. I was very comfortable on my Daytona 675R, and I knew what was too much, what was enough, and how to manage the bike and basically just not get myself into too much trouble. You know, it's very tempting when you have a fast bike to want to go out and show everybody how fast your bike is, and I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I'm a little guilty of that sometimes too, but I do my best to keep a level head, know when enough is enough, or it's not appropriate to do so and too risky to play around. And I think that's one of the biggest defining aspects of your level of maturity and when you're ready for a big bike. So my GoPro's about to die. I got my oil filters, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up. Thanks for watching. Appreciate it if you gave this video a like if you enjoyed it. If you didn't, feel free to give me some constructive feedback in the comments. I'm a nice guy and I try to be very social in there. And yeah, subscribe. Going to be racing my Daytona 675R. That's the whole reason I'm over here getting oil filters for that thing. And I'll be posting more videos on the Tuono and my WR250X. But I hope you have a great weekend or a great rest of your week. Here in the future, am I even still recording? I am. That's a miracle. One more startup, and we'll call it for the day. Thank you for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Later.